All right, party people in the place to be, vandals, and all the people out there just listening and chilling. This is a brand new episode. How did we get here? And yo, Joe, it's your turn.
Yeah. All right. So this episode is brought to you in collaboration with Power Pulp. Stories for your third eye. Go to powerpulpcomics.com for your one-stop shop for awesome indie comics. And Power Pulp also has a Discord now, so you can go sign up to that. Get on the chats, talk about comics, hang out with creators, chat, process, what you're reading, all kinds of stuff. Share your art if you make anything, and they have a YouTube place. They have a promote your projects as well section. They got all kinds of different subsections, so you can go check that out. I'll drop the link in the chat, and then you could, if you're interested, you could go sign up to that.
Right. And we are welcoming back kind of an earlier guest that we've had. We're going to go ahead and let him introduce himself. How are you doing this evening, sir?
I'm doing well. Yeah, thanks, Johnny, and thanks, Joe. Yeah, my name's Nandor Fox Schaffer. I'm a comic book creator. I've been making comics for around 8 years now, I guess. The number keeps keeps growing, so I'm like, wait. But yeah, have 7 books out between different series: Man, Child, Lifeline, The Fabled Offering, and Seasons, which is there we go. Yeah. Look at those awesome covers. Yeah, so Seasons is what we'll be talking about today, but I'm so glad to be here, and happy to be back.
It's nice to have you back. Last time you're on, we had you on because you had the Kickstarter running for Fabled Offerings.
Yeah.
So this time you have something. You have some news as well, some interesting stuff, developments with your work. So it has to do with Seasons, which was a book you had previously done. So now you have another Kickstarter running because we talked a little bit, chatted before we went live, and now you're putting it together as a collected edition for to print it as a trade now. So you have a Kickstarter running for that. We'll drop that in the chats as well if people want to go back. That I think you just launched it recently. You have 22 days left. So I think Thursday you launched on Thursday, something like that.
It's been a week. So yeah, last Tuesday. Yeah.
Last Tuesday. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So 22 days. You're about halfway, which is pretty good. Pretty good. Yeah. So this Kickstarter is for both volumes, right? 1 and 2.
Yeah. So it's for volumes 1 and 2, and there's also a nice little 28-page ash can that's a little sneak preview for volume 3 that's available for people to pick up, and that is only available through the Kickstarter. It won't be you won't be able to get it anywhere else, and it's basically the first chapter of fall. So for everyone who's been waiting and has been wanting to see what is going to happen with Fletcher in the next book, this is the best way to whet your appetite.
So you getting the same artist back for that, or is this going to be with somebody new, or how is this working? Because it's kind of been a while since Summer came out, if I believe correctly, right?
Yeah, no, it has been a while, but nope. Anthony Gonzalez Clark and I are returning, so we're both working on volume 3, and he's the series artist. And yeah, all of the art is done for the ash can, so all 28 pages are ready to go. And his style has definitely evolved, but it's really helped to I think even emphasize the story in the sense of growth and the idea of change and the idea of evolution. And I really love what Anthony's bringing to the table. We both have become better creators since we stopped working together. We were working on separate projects, and we eventually got to a point where we were ready to get back to Seasons. So it's really exciting to be at this point and to kind of roll out the red carpet for what we have coming up.
Is it going to take place more modern, or is it still going to take place in like 2018, 2017, like the first 2 books did?
Yeah, no. So it's it's a 1-year story, so it's gonna take place, 2017, 2018.
So directly following the previous volume.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, in hindsight, sometimes I think like maybe I shouldn't have dated it, but it was really important to date it because I really needed to make sure that narratively and structurally people could see that this was being told over the course of a year and that they could trace back the steps of where we started and where we're
Mhm.
going.
Visually speaking, you said his style has evolved. So are you going to go with a different aesthetic visually for the third volume? Or are you going to keep with the black and white with just punches of color here and there? Is it going to be keep that same kind of feel, or are you going with something a little different visually for the third volume?
Yeah, so I'm all about whenever I work with an artist, I really want them to be comfortable and I really
Mhm.
want them to um, uh, take on the style that they feel represents their best work and what they're doing. And with seasons in particular, Anthony, we're still going to do the black and white,
Mhm.
and I would just say that with fall in particular, there's almost a cleaner style that he has compared to volumes 1 and 2, and there's a lot more tricks up his sleeve. I would say in terms of what he's able to do. He started very kind of doing mixed traditional and digital, mostly traditional volume 1, and volume 2 he was kind of mixing it up, and volume 3 I think most of it is going to be digital. So you will see slightly a difference there. But in terms of Anthony's work and his style, like he always has a unique frame of reference, and with his camera angles and his kind
Mhm.
of kinetic energy that he brings to it. So yeah, I'm hoping readers will find it to be very refreshing.
Cool. One little thing I want to come back to. You were talking about the ash can.
Hmm.
So you say it's only going to be available through the Kickstarter, but if you go to shows, are you going to also offer it at conventions? Like if people come and meet you in person, or is it strictly you're just doing the Kickstarter for
Just the
that?
Kickstarter. Yeah,
Just the Kickstarter. Okay.
I'm only gonna print as many as ordered.
Okay.
I
Perfect.
I may print a few more in case of like damages or whatnot, in case I get a
Yeah.
few copies that are bent up. But no, I really want it to be for people who have been backing me and who've been supporting me all this time. So it will not be on any on any website or my
Cool.
store or
Okay.
any signings or anything.
Got you. So added incentive to go back this Kickstarter.
Yeah, yeah, and I've never done an ash can for any of my projects before, and I thought about 28 pages. It's very it's not really an ash can, so to speak, but because usually they're around maybe 8 to 12 pages
Yeah.
sometimes. But since volume 3 is going to be nearly 150 pages, it kind of the math works in terms
Yeah.
of like
Yeah.
giving people
Mhm.
and also I it's been a while, so I was like I really want to give something substantial, and I want something that people can chew on. And my plan is for after volumes 1 and 2 are fulfilled, this project is fulfilled, we'll go right into fall, and people who have checked out the ash can, I hope they're waiting, like they can't wait to get the full story.
What format is it going to be in? Is it going to be a mini comic, or is it going to be like just normal portrait style comic book shape?
Yeah, it'll be like a normal size single issue. So yeah, and yeah, it'll just be like you're picking up a regular comic at a shop or anything like that.
And I've also noticed that like each of the seasons has had a corresponding color. What is the color for fall going to be? Is it going to be orange? I'm just guessing, or
Yeah, no, you nailed it. Yeah, so for spring was purple, summer was red, fall is orange, and winter is going to be blue.
okay.
Mhm.
So yeah, pretty much like I guess like winter would be blue. So yeah, that's so cool. Right on.
Yeah, yeah, I really I love color coordination, especially with stories. I feel like it's very visually appeasing, and what I also really love about it is seeing them all together. Like I'm imagining all of them physically in front of me, and like seeing the color the colors change and the seasons change, I just, I was like, man, like I can't wait for that.
Does it feel good to be getting back to seasons? Because I've noticed that, like, especially with like indie artists like you, a lot of times like early work like that kind of just gets forgotten and like left behind and stuff. And like, do you feel good about like being able to get back to it and kind of getting to finish it? You know what I mean? Like, not just kind of leaving it in the past, like kind of I see a lot of creators do.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, and it was something that I never want to do. I'm such a completionist in everything that I do, not just stories I write, but I uh, I cannot sleep at night peacefully without having this story done and finished and out there, and um, I want to finish the story for me, and I want to see it come to fruition, and I want all the 4 volumes on my bookshelf, and it's I never like leaving anything unfinished, and it's been really exciting for me to come back to this, and um, I'm partially happy that I worked on other projects because I've become, a much better writer, and I've been editing the scripts for fall, looking back on them and revisiting them, and I've been able to really tighten them up and make them better, make the story stronger, and trim any fat that there may be, or any excess dialogue, anything that I feel like, wait a second, like with a new frame of mind and a lot more experience under my belt, and working with a lot more artists and what people are kind of like looking from the book and trying to meet readers' expectations of what could happen in the story. Um, it's been really great for me because I feel like now uh, I don't know if I would have been able to do it the service that I can now. So it's really exciting.
Okay, so the time away from it kind of is actually going to be beneficial to the book, is what kind of how you see it.
Yeah, I think so. And I guess I wouldn't know because I didn't release it back then. But I feel like looking at it and revisiting my scripts and looking at the story, I'm really able to see it with a much more professional eye. And also, I just think with the way I format dialogue and the way that I'm able to have conversations, I just feel like I'm a much better writer in a lot of different ways. And so, but I still, was reading it and reading the scripts for winter as well. And I'm so very proud of it. Like, and I almost look back and I go, I don't know, like who that kid was, like, because, he's still me, but he was such a dreamer and so passionate, and didn't give a crap about what other people thought. And when I read Seasons and look back on it, it motivates me to keep on going, because I'm like, man, like I really have this drive, and I don't want to let my past self down by not finishing this story.
And you have some other big news concerning Seasons. Not only is you're working on volume 3, you said the art's pretty far along.
Yeah, in process.
Yeah. So, but you have other big news concerning Seasons volume 1 and 2.
That's right. So, and this was serendipitous. It was one of those, coincidences, you could say, that really worked out in my favor. And because I've been wanting to get back to Seasons for a while, and the only reason it's taken me this long is because I've been working with other artists on other projects and have launched other projects. I wanted to make sure all of those other projects were fulfilled, completed, and shipped out to backers, so that no one was waiting for anything. And so, with all that said, I knew I was going to launch this campaign this year, and thankfully, I was able to connect with the publisher SourcePoint Press and Dirk Manning, who just took over the company as publisher, and was able to pitch Seasons to them. And they picked it up. So this book will be published by Source Point Press. Sometime next year, it'll be in the direct market in comic book stores and bookstores all around the country.
It's kind of cool to hear that they're still kicking, because it's been kind of a while since I heard anything about them, and a lot of their main talent kind of moved on to like Mad Cave and stuff like that. So, like, did they just have to restructure? Do you know kind of what happened with that at all, or can you speak on it at all, or?
Yeah, for sure. And Dirk is very he's done some interviews since he took over as publisher since then, so you can definitely find him saying this. But um, he's always said that SourcePoint got too big too quickly, and it was a matter of juggling too many things. And then when COVID hit, it really hurt the indie scene and the direct market for indies, and so they kind of just he was still publishing books because he was a creator who worked with SourcePoint and was publishing stuff through them because he really liked their deal. They have a very creator owned forward publishing deal compared to a lot of other publishers, and so he didn't want to see it go away, and it was one of the main reasons that I wanted to work with him and work with the company, because in the conversations that I had with him, I could see that as a creator himself, he understands what it's like to want to keep your IP, own your IP, but still get it in stores. And so I really am trusting him and really believe what he's able to do. And from his perspective of what creators should expect and what they want and how to help them. So, it got too big too quickly. And it was just a matter of the publisher at the time was also juggling other companies and things that he was working on, because they started a fulfillment center as well called Whalebacker. So for crowdfunding campaigns, if you didn't want to ship your own books to backers and customers, if you wanted a fulfillment service to do this, they created their own called Whalebacker, and so they were kind of divided between the two, and Whalebacker really grew as a company, and so they just didn't have enough hands to work with SourcePoint, Whalebacker, and all these things. And so this was the year that it kind of fell in Dirk's lap, and he was like, I want to do this. I want to make sure that SourcePoint does not die, and I want to bring in all new creators to keep this brand alive.
Cool.
I'm curious. Had you already started Volume 3 before you got the deal with SourcePoint, or did that kind of kickstart, like, all right, let's get back to it, because we can start getting this story out there to even more people.
Right. Yeah. No, I had actually been already working with Anthony on the artwork for Volume 3 before the deal ever came around. But it did, light a fire under my butt where I was like, hey, like, this is really, like, it was just one more reason to keep on going and to be motivated to continue the story. I was somewhat hesitant in some regard, I knew I wanted to finish the story, but I also wouldn't blame anyone if they felt, I don't know, if they were upset or a bit disappointed that we hadn't finished it already. And I don't want someone to not support us because it's taken so long. But with the fact that it is the same creative team, and the fact that it's not like I went away and wasn't doing anything, it's like I've been out there, I've been working with other creators and putting out other books. I never went away. It just seasons had to take a bit of a break because of how large these books are and how much time it takes to work on them, and to ask for so much support for such a large graphic novel and such an ambitious series. And for me, it's always been about working as a full-time writer, and I've always wanted to diversify my portfolio, and because I want to work with other publishers and work with other creators and get my name out there. And so I knew seasons I was going to have to sacrifice some time to work on other projects, but I knew eventually I would come back to it. And so Yeah, it was just one of those really interesting kind of coincidences where I was like, I'm ready to start working on seasons, and then this publishing deal happened, and then I was like, man, there's not a better time to bring this book back.
And it must have given Source Point a little confidence too, seeing as how you're coming back to the series as well with the artists, and you guys were already like in the process of
Making a new one, not just they're not just
yeah,
going to be putting out 2 old books from you. You know what I mean?
yeah. So like they know.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's in our favor, that worked out because let's say if we had the entire series finished and they wanted to publish the book, like that's great, but like we will have the luxury of putting out new content for the series that a lot of people enjoy, and that will bring new fans, but also all the old fans back as well.
And at the moment, you have the first book up on Global Comics. I'm wondering, are you going to keep that up, or are you going to kind of pull that down to try to get some more interest in the physical version? Is that, or are you going to kind of leave that as like a taste for people to kind of get a feeling for it?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in giving people, the first issue or the first volume of something, like making that available for anyone, because as a reader myself, I always want to check out something before I put my money to it, and so I find any way that I can have it out there for people to check out, and if they really like it, I hope that they will purchase it.
About the story of Seasons, it's kind of interesting because you started writing this towards the end of last decade, kind of before there was really a big backlash towards toxic masculinity online. So I was just kind of wondering, like, where did the story kind of stem from? Was it from somebody that you knew, or did you just kind of know that this topic was going to kind of get addressed in the near future, or was it just serendipitous, like you keep saying, or like I'm kind of just interested in that.
Well, that's a great question. I'm curious, in what way do you find Seasons comments on that? Like, I'm just curious for myself.
Especially the way Fletcher starts out, how he blames her for
Mm,
for everything that happens to him in the whole throughout the whole first volume, pretty much.
yeah,
Kind of
right.
he's kind of incelly, to not put too kind of a to kind of put a crude term to him. He kind of comes off that way in the first book, and he kind of grows, you know what I mean, as like he moves along and discovers like more about himself and about the world through the book. So like there is a very good and like kind of you had a foresight towards it, like I said, because I think this book kind of came out before the Andrew Tate thing and all the manosphere shit really took off. So it's
Right.
yeah, it's kind of an interesting look into like that world even kind of before like that conversation took off. So I was kind of wondering
Yeah.
where
Well,
that came from in your narrative.
yeah, I'm really glad that you brought that up, because that is definitely a part of Fletcher's story arc that I find to be, incredibly relevant to the conversation today, and for young men in particular. And you know, the Fletcher, the way Fletcher starts out, I knew, if I was gonna show a character learn and grow, I really needed him to be an extreme version of someone you wouldn't want to be, right? Like you gotta have the character start in a place
Mhm.
that maybe you can understand where he's coming from, but you don't necessarily condone, the way he goes about things, or how he thinks about things. And um, so for me, it was really important to have him start in this pit, in this place of despair, and where he is blaming everyone else for his issues. He blames Kathleen. He also blames his family. He is trying to run away from everything and neglect
Mhm.
the steps that it takes and the work that it takes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes his abilities, his superpowers, act as tools for him, not just to do cool, gnarly things in the book to entertain readers, but to be able to overcome obstacles in his way that are keeping him from growing and from being a better person.
Yeah, you see it too in Summer, the second volume. He's very self-reflective, and he starts. He kind of comes to the realization of the Kathleen thing, right? Like
Yeah.
he becomes self-aware, and he's like, okay, like he kind of understands where he faltered, and you see that kind of gets resolved a little bit, not completely resolved, but for himself personally. Like
Yeah.
he finds a place of understanding and peace where he still kind of needs, like you mentioned, the family. He's still working on that part in the second volume. He still hasn't come to terms with that. So you see, he's processing like all these things that have happened to him in a more
human way,
healthy manner. Like by the end of the second volume, right? It's a growing process for him, and through meeting these other people and stuff and talking to them, I think he kind of comes to the realization, like, and there's like no like spoilers or whatever, like when he says like, yeah, I did love her, but I don't think she ever did in return, right? I don't think she ever had any kind of feelings. And he comes to the realization that just because you feel a certain way doesn't necessarily mean someone's going to return that same sentiment or in the same way. Like maybe like he had stronger feelings and she just like maybe just friends, and some people can take that extremely personally, like almost like an attack on the person themselves, which it isn't, because like if the tables were turned, right? Like if there was a girl that's interested in him and he's not interested in that girl because he's interested in Kathleen, how would that girl that had the interest in him,
you couldn't blame him for that,
exactly, because his feelings are like towards someone else. So maybe that's her scenario. Like we didn't explore that part of it, but I mean, there's a million reasons why someone doesn't have a romantic interest in someone else, right? And I think by the end of that second volume, he comes to that realization a little bit of, and he becomes more mature. Like you see him like not just personally, but with his powers too. He starts learning more who he is. Like it's kind of a parallel story, right? His growth as a person and his growth with his newfound abilities, right? So you have that paralleled story that's running through. Like you said, it's not just about his powers, but his growth as a person as well.
Yeah, and unrequited love is I've always found it to be such a powerful rabbit hole to like try to unwind, because there's always two sides to the story, right? And like sometimes there are things that people do that you think they're doing something like special for you, but maybe they're just nice, maybe they're just kind, maybe it's just who they are. And it's more so a reflection of Fletcher and his inability to recognize the fact that he has woefully put all of his eggs in one basket and thinking that someone will solve all of his problems, and there's a lot of people, especially young people who I feel, love is such a powerful thing. Desire, I should say, is such a powerful thing. And it can get twisted in so many different ways. And there's a lot of immaturity there that he's having to grapple with. And with Volume 2 in particular, that's why Heath is such an important character for Fletcher, because he acts as this big brother, this someone who can help articulate for him what Fletcher cannot articulate for himself. And Heath in some ways is us, the reader, because we see this potential in this character that the character himself doesn't see. And Heath, is a doctor, and so that was kind of a on the nose type of position I wanted to put him in, because he's someone who cares for others and he can see the pain in others and he wants to heal those who are going through it. And so Fletcher for him is this guy who they can share these conversations with, but who has a lot more experience and who has a family but has lost one. And Fletcher Fletcher needs to realize what he has and not always try to search for something else to try to heal those things that maybe are right in front of him.
I'm not sure if you address it in the book, but like I might have missed it. Like, do you ever say how old he is? I'm guessing he's probably around like 26. About, is that about right?
Yeah, no, he's in his mid 20s. The story takes place, in 2017 or 2018, and at the end of the first volume, there's his date of birth. I believe it's in, I don't know, 19 or early 90s. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Because yeah, and like that's a pretty real mentality for somebody around that age to kind of have too. You know what I mean? They're not kind of like shooting out of left field. I kind of like new guys that are exactly like him. At that age, that kind of really,
Yeah. Well, and I lived it, and in terms of, I'm 28 right now. I started writing the story right before I turned 20, and I would see a lot of my friends go through these things, and I mean, when you're out of high school or in college or whatever, and the first girl that smiles at you, you're like excited and you're like, whoa, and I mean, sometimes people experience that in junior high or in high school and whatnot, and it's those growing pains that I feel like. I was talking to an older gentleman recently, and he had read the book, and he was telling me how it brought him back to being a young man, and how after a while, and you're in your 30s and 40s, you kind of forget what maybe it was like, or you have your shit together, so it's like what is it like not to have that together? And when you read about a character who's going through that, sometimes it can remind you, like, man, like I was an idiot, or like I didn't know what I was doing, and like this reminded him of that, and I thought that was really fascinating.
Yeah, like I was saying, you see it, and especially in that second volume, he definitely starts to look in the mirror more.
Yes,
like it's much more self-reflective. Yeah, instead of
I'm glad you caught on the idea of him still needing to mend his relationship with his family, and that's a core component of Fall. Fall is all about coming home and what that is like to come home and try to mend things that you thought were unfixable, that were always going to stay broken. And I'm a big fan of familial stories. I mean there's so much rich narrative play that you can have with relationships, with family, because these people are people you didn't choose to belong to, but you do belong to them. And Fletcher has to learn how to figure out what he did wrong and how he can not be a prodigal anymore and kind of come back home.
Yeah, and I think Fall is a fantastic one to pick, because it's definitely like Thanksgiving, is in the fall.
Exactly.
Christmas is coming, so a lot of people go back home, right, to visit family and stuff. So
Yeah.
I like the tie there for Fall. I think it's perfectly fitting for like that type of story where he goes back home, right? And
yeah, I mean, how are you supposed to spend? I mean, the holidays are some of the most stressful times for people, right?
Yeah.
And being able to, like, oh man, like, tell me I gotta go visit them again,
especially if you have some unresolved issues or something.
Yeah, like maybe the last time you saw them was last Thanksgiving, and it ended in a fight, and it's like, here we go again.
Yeah. Yeah, getting ready, like, just is everyone just gonna pretend like nothing happened?
Like,
or
what are we gonna leave unspoken? Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Are you gonna like try to address it, and so that it's something that's resolved and has less chance of repeating itself? And
and there's I mean, I don't want to give too much away, but there are returning characters. Summer is a really it was really difficult for me to write that book, because was introducing new characters into the story, and there are a lot of characters in spring that do not show up in summer. It's a very different kind of book, and there was a reason for that because I wanted Fletcher to experience things outside his bubble, outside his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the way you, you find so much more, I feel, perspective when you get out of your hometown, you get out of the places that you're so tied to, and you get to see how other people live and how other people deal with things. And sometimes it's a geographical issue. I mean, your problems always follow you, but I feel like when you're able to get perspective and get away, it really helps to um, give you new insights into how to approach things. And so with Fall, there's his family that's involved. There's Kathleen. There's his coworkers. There's a lot there that we're going to be mining, and it leads to some of my favorite interactions that Fletcher will ever have in this series.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. So it kind of returns back to kind of stuff that didn't even get addressed after the kind of the beginning of the first issue. So to tell you the truth, I kind of thought that like they all got blown up. I thought he accidentally blew up his building. So like all his coworkers are still alive.
Yes, yeah, they are. They are.
Just want to come back to the Kickstarter. I didn't check the add-ons and stuff like that. Like, can people pick up your other books through this
Yes.
Kickstarter, like Fabled Offering, stuff like that?
Yeah, so all of my books are available through this Kickstarter. So it kind of acts as almost like an online store.
Okay.
So if you want to see what else I've been up to, and or pick get a glimpse of Manchild with the first issue, or pick up Fabled Offering as a one shot, this is a great way to do so. And I also have a lot of original art that's available as add-ons from Seasons, and there is a catch-all bundle. So I don't know if someone out there is like, I want everything Nandor has done, you can pick up that bundle as well, and that'll come with the Foxhole Comics T-shirt and a few other goodies.
That's cool. Speaking of Fabled Offering, we have a friend of the show that was a huge supporter of Fabled Offerings. And I noticed he's hopped on board for a variant cover on Seasons, the Volume 2.
That's right. Richard Morgan himself I wanted to work with him so bad, and he was a big fan of Fabled Offering, and I was like, this is the time, this is the opportunity to do something with him. And so I really loved how his cover turned out. It features Fletcher and Judith in their kind of first interaction, where he's reaching out to her, in the eye of a hurricane. So I love what Richard did. I love his painterly style, and it was so fun to work with him.
Cool. Very cool. Another question, like the variant covers and stuff, I think you touched on it when I was asking you about Source Point, but Source Point will have just 2 covers, right, available?
Yeah, so they're just gonna have one cover, the main cover for volumes 1 and 2. Yeah, so those 2 right there. So those will be available through the direct market, but the other covers are, exclusive to crowdfunding and exclusive to finding me at a signing or a convention.
Cool.
This one looks like a Top Cow comic, straight up.
Yeah, that one's done by Corey Barton, and he actually. I think he's done some work for Top Cow, and may have even inked over some of like Mark Silvestri stuff. I'm not 100% sure, but he definitely loves all that 90s image stuff.
Yeah, this looks like there was a series they did called Artifacts, and almost all the covers for that series look just like this cover.
Yeah. No, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I love his style, and he did all of it. So he does the pencils, inks, and colors for that cover there.
Cool. Nice.
So when it comes to winter, are you guys gonna just go straight from fall into that, or is there gonna be kind of another little break? Or do you know?
I'm not 100% sure because it depends on how successful fall is. But we my wish is to get to it as quickly as possible after fall is completed and fulfilled.
Yeah. Do you have the script already completed for winter?
I do.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yeah. So I'm ready.
you're ready. Yeah. So you're really you're gonna I suppose you're gonna follow the same process. You're gonna do a Kickstarter, and then more than likely Source Point will put out later in the year after following the Kickstarter, they'll put out fall in shops and bookstores and stuff like that.
Yeah. I think that would be. I think that would make the most sense, just to get the mass amount of readership, get people, caught up. There may be a chance I may do the Kickstarter for winter, maybe as fall hits the stands or before fall hits the stands.
Through the lunar.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I did want to say, I want to, reassure people that with fall and winter, we are going to stick with doing hardcovers, but there will be a trade paperback option as well. So we'll be printing, both in both formats.
Because you had said the original print run was hardcovers.
Correct. Yeah.
So people have the original print run have the hardcovers. So you're going to come back to it to make sure that all these people that have ADD, when they look at their bookshelves, it all matches, right?
Yes. Yeah. And I see, I'm one of those people, it has to be this way. And the great thing about working with Source Point too is that they have great relationships with printers, and it really has opened a more cost-effective, reasonable way for me to be able to print these books because of our deal. So that's going to be super beneficial. And yeah, when the Kickstarter for Volume 3 launches, there will be a hardcover and a trade paperback edition available. And
so
there'll be two different covers. Yeah.
The hardcover will be exclusively a Kickstarter. That will never be reprinted through Source Point or anything like that.
Correct. Yeah, that'll be the crowdfunding exclusive edition for sure.
So you're keeping the same method of operation as you start, except this time it'll be both at the same time, right? You'll be offering the hardcover and softcover options in the same Kickstarter. Right.
Yeah. There won't be any separate campaigns. So it'll be all tied together. And thankfully, in the world of printing comics, it's really not that difficult to print the same book, like the guts of a book, with different covers. It's a completely different story if you were adding pages or taking away pages. But if the interiors are all the same, getting different cover stock for a book is very doable. And so
a more simple process than having to change, let's say, a page in the story or something.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that changes the entire way that they price it out, and it's a headache. So just doing different variant covers or having a hardcover or soft cover is very, like, printers do it all the time, so it's very very easy to do. And they'll be just like the covers that we're seeing here on display with the purple and red. It'll be the same cover design, for fall and winter as well. And with the trade paperbacks have a specific, credit design as well with our names and where the title is placed. So all of that will stay uniform and make sure everything, looks the same.
Yeah. Did you flirt with the idea of going back and making some changes to any of the interior pages for this trade paperback?
Yeah, I did. I did. And it was kind of frustrating because I really had to talk myself out of changing anything. I because I knew once I started I wouldn't stop, and then I would think, well, maybe I could have Anthony fix, like, touch up a few things, or maybe if there was anything he wanted to fix, like he could touch it up as well. And I was like, no, I can't do that. Like that will just slow the process down of getting these books out there. And I'm a big fan of reading people's first work and seeing their evolution as a creator. And I feel like to touch it up or to change it would be to ruin that like my story, as
that
a
journey.
creator. Yeah.
Also for the reader, like following not only the story's journey, but you as a creator, your journey as a creator as well, right? So
yes, yeah, exactly. And I think I want readers to pick up and check out Seasons Volume 1 and see maybe where it could have been better, but then go to Volume 2 and be like, oh crap, he every issue I had with Volume 1 he fixed, or especially with Volume 3, I better have done this, because of how much work I've been able to put into other projects. And so I want people to see Fletcher's growth and to see my growth at the same time, and see how the story of healing can be even better, just from a narratively and technically with the way that I'm able to approach it now.
Yeah. So how long? Because now you had the opportunity, because Volume 3 wasn't printed, so you had the opportunity to go back and tweak some things in your script, right? So,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
So from the completion of Volume 2 to now, to the tweaks you did for your script in Volume from 2 to 3, how much time went by before you're at the process of actually, like, with you started it now, like you're gonna have the ash can, the first chapter's gonna be done for this Kickstarter. So
yeah.
So what was it, a 3-4 year break before you jump back on in Volume 3, or how much time went by between the two volumes?
Yeah, no, it was about 4 years, I would
4
say.
years.
And last year or earlier this year is when I finally, dusted off the scripts and reread them and took my red pen and just, went crazy on it. And it was like, I'm going to fix this. I'm going to make this better. I need this book to be even better. And I was happy with what I had, like I feel like it still would have been publishable, if that's even a word. But, I wanted to make sure that what I've learned will be reflected in the new work that I put out, because I could feel like it could be very jarring if someone were to pick up Volume 3 and pick up Man-Child issue 3 or Man-Child issue 4 and be like, wait a second, why do these feel so different? Like I want both of them. If a reader picks them up, I want them to be able to see that this is Nandor Fox Schaffer writing this book, and this is why I like his stories.
So you updated it a bit, but not too much to where like it's not recognizable as the same story anymore.
Yeah. Nothing about the plot changed. It's just smoothing it out to make the transitions between scenes a lot smoother, making sure the page turns are where they need to be, because that was something that I was able to really learn about as I read more books on how to make comics and writing comics and kind of the technical side of things, that I could look at the scripts for volumes 3 and 4 and apply all of those things that I now know of how to make a comic book story better and how to pace it out better. And a lot of, one of my woes and a lot of woes of a rookie writer is overwriting. And so I was able to look at my work and go, oh, I can cut this, or I can, these 3 sentences, if I can just make this one sentence, I can find the perfect word choice to make this work. And so a lot of that.
I know exactly what you mean. There was maybe a couple instances throughout the 2 volumes there where, like, word bubbles dominated the panel, right?
Exactly.
And so I know exactly what you mean by, just compacting maybe some of the dialogue to like you said, instead of 3 sentences, try to get the message across in just one. Just to balance out those panels too, like from dialogue to the art, and just have a better balance within just each individual panel itself with the dialogue and stuff. It wasn't a major
Yeah.
thing. I think it was only a couple panels I noticed that in, but yeah, I know exactly what
Darn
you
it.
mean. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean that's when I look back on it, like those are the things that I
Yeah.
notice and I go, man, but I I it with see like and it depends on your taste, right? Because I
Yeah.
mean there are some comics that I absolutely adore. I mean, if you read any Alan Moore comic, like
Yeah.
there's so much text and it's like so dense. But that can be an excuse for rookie writers to be like, well, look at what Alan Moore does. It's like,
Yeah.
well, you can't, you're
But-
not him, so like you can't really use that. But I think
Well,
there's
it was a
always
different time too, right?
it was
Yeah.
and I think it's really important to realize that Alan Moore wasn't writing a lot to write a lot. He was writing a lot because um, it was that day and age, but also it was in service of the story. And he's such a wordsmith, and I am not. So I can look at my own work and see what is failing here, and what do I feel like represents my best work and what I can do better. And I can't speak for other writers, but I can speak for myself, and I can look back and go, I can see where I got that wrong, or I should have compacted that there.
Yeah.
But the beauty of it is I look back on it and I go, damn, I got that right, and I don't know how I got that right, but I did. And that gets me excited because and makes me more proud of the work because of how much I didn't know, but I was able to absorb from all the comics I've read and all the stories that I love, and see how that was coming through on the page. And maybe I couldn't tell you how I did it or why I did it that way, but I just knew intuitively, like, this is how it needs to be.
Yeah, you were working with great artists too on that book. So
Exactly.
that helps.
Yeah. Anthony saved my skin so many times, I feel like, with a lot of the stuff. And because the art will distract from any of the missteps that I may have made narratively. But
how many books had he worked on before Seasons?
We're both first-time creators with Seasons. This was his first book. Yeah.
So it's a really strong showing then on both counts.
Yeah, and thankfully, I have had readers tell me, very experienced comic book fans pick up Seasons and tell me it doesn't read like a first timer. And I'm sure that's because of Anthony's amazing artwork, but also just reading the book, I feel like there's still a lot of thoughtfulness behind it, and there's a lot of intent behind it. And I knew what I was doing. At least I knew the kind of story I was trying to tell. And so to be able to hear that from people, it means a lot to me to know that people look at it and don't go, we don't want more of that. Like, people want more Seasons. I think it's to this day, it's still my best-selling book at shows, and still my best-selling book that people are more excited for. And Anthony has every reason to be a part of that, because it's his work that draws people in.
Cool. Yeah, it was for sure. And you know what? It's an ambitious book too for a first project. Like, you're not just doing a 22 pager here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's quite ambitious as well. So congratulations to you on that.
Well,
you're swinging big and you hit it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
you're also not just doing a typical superhero deconstruction or just like goofy superhero story. You're doing something that deals with like complex emotions and complex problems with society, kind of, you know what I mean? Like, Fletcher's problems are a big problem with the youth, you know what I mean? So you dive into that type of stuff, like yeah, like Joe said, it is very ambitious for like, I'm going to do this right off the bat. So I
But
thought like
yeah,
Child or Lifelines was one of your first. I didn't know that this was legitimately your first book.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No. Volume one was where it all started for me, and it's how I learned how to write comics. It's how I learned how to structure a story. It's how I learned to start a character arc and hopefully be able to take it to where you can you can see the pain points of where Fletcher is evolving, where he needs to evolve, and thankfully, because it is such a big series, it's given me so much room, to explore some of these things. I couldn't imagine trying to condense this into a shorter, type of format or anything like that. Whether it was just one graphic novel that took place over a year. I mean, it would have done my vision such a disservice to what I actually wanted to talk about and what I wanted to explore and to show, how these things that Fletcher is dealing with and his ability to recognize his failings. It does take time. You don't learn these things overnight, and he doesn't
no.
learn these things overnight. Where it's like, he wakes up one morning after a bad day and he goes, "Oh, like I'm gonna fix it all." Like with at the end of volume one, like that's where I really feel like Seasons begins in a sense because it's
Yeah.
there that we see um, he realizes kind of that he needs to change, and sometimes that's where stories end, like where a character gets that realization and then the movie ends and the credits roll. But what I'm really fascinated by is, what does that next day look like? How does someone go from, I think I need to get my shit together, to how do I get my shit together? Like, how do I do this? What are the steps I need
steps,
to
yeah.
take, to do this? And
And
that
it's
to
not
me,
easy, and it's not easy either, right?
no, like you're gonna fail again,
like
right?
like you
Yeah.
said in the movie, it's like, okay, he figured out he's got to change. Roll credits, like it's an easy process.
Yeah,
But the process of change is a difficult one
exactly.
because you
Yeah,
have these ingrained things in you, whether you're taught, the way you're raised, or whatever. These things are deeply ingrained into you, and to try to change those things can be. It's almost like like you talk about brainwashing or something, like deprogramming yourself.
right.
Sometimes behaviors you want to change, but they're so deeply ingrained in you for reasons you don't even understand. To try to make those changes can be an incredible challenge for certain people, right? For
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and that
And
journey in itself is a complicated one, and not without hardship either. So
Yeah.
right, right. And I mean, it reminds me of what I imagine a lot of people go through, and when they're on the road to sobriety, in a sense of
yeah.
like, okay, I need to, you know, do these 12 steps
Mm,
and realize these are the things I need to do to complete my rehabilitation, if you will, or my sense of recovering what I've lost.
mhm.
And at the end of volume one, um, for people who have read it, this won't be new, but like Fletcher's shadow is a part of him.
Mhm.
It's something that he has to um, tame in a sense. And at the end of volume one, his shadow doesn't just disappear and go away. He retrieves it back into himself.
Mhm.
And so to integrate that into tomorrow, into the next month, and the next 6 months to 12 months, in the rest of his year journey,
Mhm.
um, it's not supposed to be easy. It's not going to be easy. It's not all, sunshine and rainbows. It's like I still have this thing inside of me that is whispering in my ear to be this way and to do these things and to give up on any progress that I may make. And so that's always going to be a part of him.
Yeah.
Especially that's how the Shadow was basically all he was at the beginning of the story, pretty much.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
most
exactly.
part. Yeah.
Yeah. Any anytime you're trying to make change, there's always going to be setbacks, right? Like, I mean, it's just, and
Yeah.
it's how you deal with those setbacks that really cement the person you become later on, right? It's
Yeah,
not the
it's
fact that
the
you failed, it's how do you react to those failures, right?
yeah,
That
it's
really make
the
you grow as a person. Because if everything was easy, then you don't really learn much from it, right? It's in
yeah,
your failures that you learn the most.
exactly, exactly. And there's that. I'm still very proud of it when I read it. The conversation at the end of Volume 2 that Fletcher has with Heath, and Heath is trying to tell him that there's no magic potion, there's no silver bullet to fixing what may or may not be wrong with you or whatever you're struggling with. Like, it is a process, and it's about the choices that you make. And you're so paralyzed that you need to learn how to take that first step and how to move, and how to realize that to be stuck is to be human, but um, you can't be stuck forever. And to blame everyone else for your problems is not how you grow as a person.
And ownership, right? Like things you did in the past, you cannot change those.
Yes.
But you
Yes.
shouldn't let that prevent you from becoming a better person in the future.
Yeah.
Right. You
Yeah.
got to learn, I don't want to say live with it, but you got to learn to process it and, don't let it define everything that you are. Like people grow. Like some people make mistakes, some bigger mistakes than others, but you gotta own it and then move on and learn from it. If you never learn from it, then I mean you're a lost cause. You gotta take those things that happen and really
Yeah.
try to work on it and learn from it.
Well,
right?
and in the same way, in Volume 2, with the different characters, the different entities that Fletcher um, comes in contact with, they're all mirrors in a way of where he could have gone, where he could have ended up. With Judith and her being like drowning in her own sorrow, and being angry at what's been done to her. And then with Baker, with feeling betrayed, and burning everything around him, and then meeting Xander and Aiden and seeing cynicism and optimism working together in terms of showing that duality of the human spirit and humanity, of like, you can either choose to be cynical and like die into oblivion, into nihilism, or you can learn how to look at things and see that yes, things die, but there's always a point of rebirth where when things die, they come back to life.
I noticed with those characters, like you mentioned, there's always that little pop of color.
Yeah.
That's tied to that character. Did you like research like the psychology of color and pick a color that reflects like that behavior or that mentality of those characters? Or what, like, did you go that deep into the thought for the colors that you picked for them? Or is it just you're like, I'll go with this because like they're kind of like a plant, like
yeah,
characteristics,
it was mostly the colors there for tone, I would say, more than anything for me, where it was like I wanted to show the idea behind the color in the series was like trying to show emphasize different aspects of these characters or a certain scene that would show that that color is coming back in Fletcher's life, and that he's able to recognize things that he wasn't able to before. And Summer in particular, the color palette is mostly red, but there's some green in there as well, and that was to signify new life, and there's always this when you see a green pasture or a flower growing or anything, it's like there's always going to be green there, and but it's also death is represented in nature, and the green, and like I think a Swamp Thing, and characters like that. but yeah, so it's for me, the color is always there in the service of the story and that particular scene.
Cool. Yeah, well, I noticed like you had that was a new pop of color in there when those characters were introduced. So I was like, okay. Yeah. So
yeah, well, and that scene right there on the screen, you know, of the last page of volume 2, it's like showing Fletcher on the brink of death and finding new life, you know, and how quickly that can turn, you know, and how quickly that can change for someone.
Or
and how
enlightenment, right? People when they you know, when they see the light, right? Where they're near death and all of a sudden they get like this enlightenment and some go to Christianity, others go to something else, you know, like
yeah, and you know, there's a lot of weight to these stories, and you know, I hope they do not turn people off. I mean, I'm not trying to preach to anyone or to make them think a certain way. I just you know, I have my own questions about purpose and existence and the meaning of life, and Seasons was always my way of trying to explore those questions with the character and try to understand, why do we keep moving forward, you know, like why do we wake up every day and still continue on, you know, on this floating rock of space, you know, and in this void that we live in, and so like trying to explore those things with the character, like Fletcher, like in every day is to me, it needed to happen for me, at least.
For me personally, as I read it, I didn't find it was preachy at all.
Good,
because you let the characters grow organically and you never force anything down anyone's throat if this is good or bad.
Yeah.
You let the reader decide if those actions are good actions or bad actions. You don't decide for the reader. You let them interpret how they want to interpret most of the characters' behaviors. And other characters react accordingly, but it's never like you never force it down anyone's throat whether these actions are good or bad actions, right? It's just a character that's evolving organically, and it's not like nailing them for like, okay, he did this is bad, he did that, right, that's bad, right? Like he just goes through the motions and you let the reader decide, like, okay, you know. And I think that's where in volume 2 you really see him as a character. Like he's not like just this, like Johnny was saying, like comes off very maybe a little bit incel-y in the first volume, but then you see like he has a moment of enlightenment, like we said, like when he wakes up on that bed, it's kind of like, oh shit, you know, like I've got to make changes, you know, like, and then
realizes that, like, maybe pretty girls just want to have friends sometimes, you know what I mean? Like,
like, why does it have to be so complicated, or like, why do you have to overthink things so much, you know? And that's, you know, that's one of Fletcher's,
he's in his head too much.
Right, exactly. And you know, and that was a main reason why the first volume in particular was so dense with his narration, because I kind of wanted to give a sense of overwhelming thought to the reader and go, why is this guy just like on this? You know, he's like obsessed and he's just on trying to like think through these things and analyzing everything and you know, taking note of things, that seeing patterns and things that maybe are not there. But you know, I think as a writer myself and as a storyteller, it's things like that I think can help peer into, and it's what makes comics so special, is peering into the mind of characters and seeing how they think and how they process things. And to your point, Joe, about like seeing these characters make these decisions, the consequences of their actions will make themselves known. You know, it's not the job of the writer to like punish a character. It's like, well, it depends on what they do and how that plays out. And
also I think a lot of people like without knowing often project a lot of flaws in themselves onto others actions, right? This person did
Yeah.
that because it's a flaw they see in themselves. So that person must be doing it because of that, because they
Right.
recognize a flaw in themselves. So they project that onto other people, even though that may not have been the other person's intent whatsoever. But because they've had a pattern of doing things a certain way, so they just assume other people are like that too, which, like, we're all individuals. Like, our motivations are all different. We don't all have the same motivations for things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people project of themselves a little too much onto others. And that's where maybe you get the mixed signals or things get lost in translation, right? Because you know, we sit there and we don't really listen to others. We kind of project onto them our beliefs or the way we see things, right? And we don't really sit there and listen, kind of, okay, I see where you're coming from, you know, like, so
And you know, I mean, if Fletcher was a more mature person in volume 1, he wouldn't have worked himself up so much to try to get to this moment, and he made it such a mountain of expectation to build towards, when if he would have had the courage or the sense to just ask, you know, rather than be like, I'm gonna make everything work perfectly and do all this stuff and try to make sure, you know, like like he was writing his own script in his own head of how things should be. And you know, life is not like the movies, you know, and you have to realize that while you know, we're all our own main character in our story, you know, so sometimes, you know, it's not going to work out the way you want to work out, because that other person has their own story and their own journey that they're going through. So
and people sometimes don't stop and think about that, you know, like you said, like they're so in their own head.
They think they're the main character of everybody's story.
Where exactly, where they don't think that this other person is maybe going through some shit too, that they don't give a shit about your shit because they're in it.
You're actually the extra in the back of the shot, you know, that no
Everyone's
one ever
walking
sees,
around,
you know,
as the main characters. So.
Right. And that was honestly, it reminds me of my book Lifeline. That was a big reason I wanted to write that story, because I wanted to write a story that book in particular is about following someone from childhood to their old years or golden years, but each chapter is told from the perspective of a different character. So you're learning about this person, but through the eyes of different people. And you know, that's our legacy, you know, and how we interact with people and how they see us. And you know, we may have our own inner dialogue of how we think the world should be and how we are. And, you know, maybe we're narcissistic and we're like, I do everything correct and everyone else is wrong or whatever. But everyone else can see that. And that's the other side of the story that we're not always privy to, because we can't read minds and we can't, you know, see what everyone thinks about us. And if we did, we'd go crazy. So, you know, it's probably good that we don't know. But
kind of like Fletcher deals with.
Exactly.
It kind of drives him a little nutty, right?
So I'm really thankful for the room that I have with this series to explore these things. And it's my hope that as we get to, you know, winter, that we're able to see these pieces come together for Fletcher, but also still understand that, you know, he still has his shadow in there, and that this is going to be, you know, to win the war, you have to win battles, and you know, you can't just sweep it under the rug and hope it all goes away. You have to continue on with fighting every day. And, you know, Fletcher is going to have to realize that sooner or later.
Yeah, you never get over your own bullshit, ever.
Yeah. We each have our own proclivities, you know, and the things that kind of tie us down. And, you know, we'll get back into these old habits, and it's like, damn it. Like, why am I doing this again?
All right. So Seasons, Book 1, Spring, and Book 2, Summer. Live on Kickstarter as we speak. 2 books are complete, so all the art is done. So this will go straight to print as soon as the Kickstarter is over.
Yes.
You're 20. You got 22 days left to back. You're 50% funded. So yeah, people. I mean, you have time to get on there and go back this book and maybe pick up some of the other books that Nandor has in his library. He has, like he said, he has 7 total issues of work that he's done, that he's worked on. So you could go browse through the add-ons. And what was the one tier you said? The
Catch-all.
The
Yeah,
catch-all
the Foxhole Comics bundle. Yeah.
bundle, where you get like all the books and T-shirts and some other goodies and stuff. So you could go back that one as well if you think it sounds interesting what we've been talking about, which I thought it was so far it's been a pretty interesting story. It's continuing because, like you said, the Ash Can will be available as well if you want to get a little tease. You get the first chapter of the next book, which will be Fall. And these books aren't just your standard 22 pagers. Like you said, they're a good 150-ish or more or less, give or take, page stories. So you're getting a full story with each one of these volumes.
Yeah, there are 5 issues, but they're not like normal 22, 24 page issues. They're 28 page each chapter, right? So
Yeah.
So even like the normal chapters are a bit oversized in a typical floppy. And you also get a kind of a neat variety of covers. This is the regular A cover for issue 1. I think there's only one variant for book 1, right? This one here.
There is another variant for book 1. There's 3 covers for each book. Yeah.
Okay. I couldn't find the second one for book 1, but like, yeah, here's the A for 2, and you get the Richard Morgan one, and then I forget what the you said the fellow's name was.
Corey Barton. Yeah.
Corey Barton. Did he do this one too? Because it's kind of similar.
No.
That one's actually done by Rob Willis. Yeah.
Rob Willis. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a great artist.
Yeah, I love his stuff. His stuff is very like reminiscent of David Finch or some of these other great, very detailed, highly detailed artists. And I actually have the original cover art available for people to back if they want Rob Willis's 11 by 17 pencils and inks of the cover. They can back that as well.
Yeah. Cool. We usually ask people before we close it out. I mean, we're getting late into the year, so I don't know if you have any signings, conventions that you plan on going to, or maybe early next year.
Yeah.
If you have anything lined up that you're planning on going to where people can swing by, come see you, pick up. By then, your Kickstarter as well, early next year, will have ran. So you'll have, like you said, I think you sold out of Seasons, so you don't really have any copies of that right now. So this is kind of like reprinting it so people can get their hands on it. So do you have any conventions that you have planned coming up to close out the year or start next year?
I don't have any big conventions on my horizon right now. I live in the Missouri area, so I probably will do some signings soon. And I always let people know on my newsletter as well as my social media, when those come about. So if people want to follow me or check me out there, I'll always keep you updated. I did actually just get, this was really cool. I got an email today that my application for a Pro Pass was approved for San Diego Comic-Con next year. So I do plan on hopefully being there for San Diego.
Very cool.
Cool. You're gonna like crash it? You're gonna kind of just bring a backpack full of your stuff and kind of sell it on the floor? Because I know a lot of guys that do that.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get a table, but like.
Yeah, I just came back. It was my first time in New York a couple weeks ago, and I went to New York Comic-Con, and that's what I did. I just brought all my books in a backpack and was just, I wasn't really there to sell. I was there to meet with editors and to kind of give my books to people and make connections. But with San Diego coming up, I'm hoping, Source Point and I will coordinate a little bit if we can. Or I also had another publishing deal go through this summer that I'm really excited about. It's with Gungnir Books. I'm working with Steve Orlando as my editor for a 140-page hardcover graphic novel that will be coming out. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm hoping we can announce that soon. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot on the horizon, and I'm super excited for things to come. And I'm hoping with San Diego we'll be able to announce some more stuff, and I'll have seasons with me, and we'll be shopping it around even more, and just I love talking with other writers and other creators, and trading books and learning about other people and how they make comics. So that's what I really did in New York, and it was like the best thing ever. I sometimes I find being tied to a table to be so life sucking. Where like I mean, unless you're doing super well, which is great, but like you're kind of stuck there for 8 hours each day, and you're working it. But with New York, I was able to go to panels, go to Artist Alley, go to the show floor, get some food with people, do all these things, and it really was really like such a rewarding experience.
For that graphic novel you're talking about, do you already have an artist lined up for it? Do you know?
I do. Yeah.
Can you say who it is, or is that
Not
still
yet.
kind of okay?
Yeah, not yet, but
Okay.
yeah, I'm super excited, and it's some of his best work that I've ever seen, and we're really really excited to share the project with people. So it's really my first big gig, I would say.
Okay.
And Steve is an amazing writer. He's doing the Scarlet Witch book right now at Marvel, and he's done so many books.
Yeah.
With so many publishers, and so it's just been an honor to be able to work with him.
Do you have a timetable worked out yet, or is it still in the early goings where it's not?
Yeah, so we're planning on it coming out next year, if the artist is able to keep up with the timeline, and meet the deadline. So we're hoping that will happen, but we want to make sure we have a lot of the book done before we announce it.
So you'll probably be announcing it shortly then, probably.
Yeah.
Like within early next year, you'll probably be announcing it or something like that.
Yeah, I hope to.
Yeah. Cool.
Is this his imprint, or is he just the editor for them?
So he's just the editor for them. Yeah. So this is a new graphic novel company. They've done some other books just recently that have come out, and they've been announcing a lot of new deals with some other great television writers and comic book writers, and there'll be a lot more. They just signed a distribution deal with Macmillan as well, so they'll have international distribution as well as distribution in the States. So it'll be really really exciting.
Cool. Sounds fun. Sounds I'll be keeping
I will,
an eye out on socials for.
I will be
anything.
back because I really want to talk to you guys about this. So
awesome.
Killer.
Awesome. Yeah.
All
right. So, man, thanks a lot for coming back to the show. I know your last Kickstarter, we tried to work something out to get you on for your other Kickstarter, but the scheduling didn't work out so well. So it was great to have you back and to talk to you. And you actually, some things shaked out in between then and.
That's
like
right.
Like point and stuff.
I always feel, like I always want to bring, do my part as a part of the interview and make sure I have interesting things to talk about and things that I'm excited to talk about, and not just, I hope you back my book, but like I love comics so much, and I love being a comic book writer, and this year has been the best year for me professionally, and being able to feel confident. Like when I was in New York, I actually felt like I deserved to be here, or I at least belong here in a way that I hadn't felt in years, since I started making comics. So to be able to rub shoulders, with some of my favorite writers of all time, and just to be able to tell them like what I'm working on, and to see what they're working on, and feel like, I don't know, I felt like, that was my family, and going to this convention and meeting people, because I got to meet Steve for the first time in person, and so that was just extraordinary. So I cannot wait for what's ahead.
Awesome, man.
What's the name of the imprint again?
Yeah, so the publishing company is Gungnir Books, Gungnir, and yeah, Gungnir Entertainment, and it's headed by Matthew Medney, who ran Heavy Metal Magazine for a few years. So really cool guy.
Cool. So it's got some talent behind it too. That's cool.
Yeah. Steve Orlando's the executive editor, and then Jim Kruger is the editor in chief.
Damn. Nice.
Yeah.
So big names then. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like the biggest fan of Jim's, and I've spoken with him on the phone a few times and really enjoy the stories. I mean, the Earth X trilogy is to this day is like my favorite comic book of all time. And I love, Justice and, all the stuff he's done with Alex Ross. And so to be able to be in the company of these people, it's a dream come true.
Nice. Yeah, I can imagine. All right.
Quick reminder from last episode. Yeah, we have. Oops, sorry, Johnny. I clicked it at the same time. Yeah, we have the giveaway still. This weekend will be the last weekend that people can enter. So just a reminder that that's still going. Go over to the Power Hour, the Founding Fathers episode, and just write Power Pulp in the comments to enter for a chance to win a bundle of 4 comics from the founding members of Power Pulp. So
yeah, you get to take your pick as long as it's one from each of the Coates brothers or one that they worked on together. You can get 2 of those, and then you can get one from Jamie Jones and one from Chris Anderson. So yeah.
So you'll get your pick. So we want to be as inclusive as possible. So it's not like just first issues from each person. So if you've read a few of their books and you're like up to issue 3 of Spacao, or actually that one's sold out, so you won't be able to get that one. Let's say you've read that one, you're at issue 4. We'll pick that one. We'll put it in the bundle and we'll mail that out to the winner. You get to pick whatever you want from those specific creators. So yeah.
Nice.
And we'll be back tomorrow night. We're going to be talking 31 Days of Horror. It's going to be a really chill episode. It's going to be our only like spooky episode of the season. We're going to talk about our 31 Days of Horror that we did on Instagram, just kind of review the comics and the movies that Joe and I have posted this month. So yeah, it'll be chill, but like it should last about an hour, so it'll be content.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah. All right, Johnny.
Happy Halloween, guys.
Yeah, man. Outro time.
Outro time.